Welcome. I am Doran.
And I am Joan. Welcome, guys.
Yes, this is going to be an amazing episode because I'm here with the most amazing, fantastic, beautiful, gorgeous, my wife of 31 years.
And
Yes.
I'm here with my handsome, hunky-dory husband.
We are going to talk about 8 things we check regularly in our marriage. And we believe that if you don't check these things, it's likely that your marriage is going to flatline.
Yes.
And if it's flatlining, it means that you are about to have a cardiac arrest in your marriage, right, babe?
Right.
Yeah. So
and that's why it's important, because you don't want it to get to a place where you're in cardiac arrest before you realize that you need to run to the emergency room.
yes. So let me ask you. You talk about the emergency room, right? What are the 4 key vital signs that the doctors check when we go to the doctor or we go to the emergency room?
Well, I believe they check the pulse, your respiratory,
Yes.
and your blood pressure.
Yes. I think it's 5, right? Is it 4 or 5?
I'm not sure.
Because you didn't talk about temperature, so I think I think the
yeah,
temperature also, and the vital signs. It gives the doctor an idea as to what's really going on.
Right, an overview.
Yes. So if you go to the emergency room and you see the triage nurse and they check your vital signs and they realize that your heart rate is way too high or too low, automatically, that you're not even waiting to be seen. They're running you right into the emergency room. You get in on the bed, they're going to take you to get all EKGs and all of that stuff, right?
And that's why that part of the visit is so important, because they use it as a barometer
Yes.
to kind of like detect, see what the issues are that could come out of you.
Absolutely. Is it safe to say that sometimes we wait until the last minute to really do these checkup and find out what's going on?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of times happens in marriages, you know.
Yeah, that's a fact.
You and I have been married for 31 years. So excited.
31 pleasant years, guys.
Yes, we have our ups and downs.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yes,
It's
yes.
pleasant, but the first
Pleasant,
3
but-
years was a little bit rocky. We talk a lot about that
we
in our
talk
story.
about that a lot. Yes,
And it is our story.
yes.
And so we're going to talk about the 8 things that you and I check regularly. And guys, we have been checking these points since 2000 since 2000. Yeah. Actually, our youngest son is now 22 and we've been doing this since he's been 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what we're talking about is what we have done regularly, and it helped to keep the rhythm. And as you guys can see that we have on our stethoscope and we have on our lab coat, because we check each. I'm gonna check you out. I'm gonna check her. I'm gonna check. I've been checking her out. Yeah, I've been checking her out.
checking it
you know,
out, guys.
so when we do
Yeah.
workshops and when we do these seminars and stuff like that, normally we do these type of role playing and teaching spouse exactly how to focus on the main thing. So the first thing that we check regularly is our spiritual life or spiritual growth.
Yes.
Why is that so important?
You know, I find that the spiritual growth is important in marriage,
Yes.
because without God, we are nothing. And
Nothing.
In order to achieve anything and, just being on this earth alone, you actually need God in your life. And so, needing God, not just for you in your individual life, but when you are tied to someone in marriage,
Yes.
it helps the marriage to grow. You definitely need God in your life. You need some
Absolutely.
spirituality, and you need to grow together in God. And sometimes I find that from couples, we don't always grow at the same pace.
That's good. That's good.
We don't always grow at the same pace, but even so, it's important that you grow together. And the person that's, a little bit more elevated spirituality can help to pull up the other one.
That's well said, honey.
Yeah.
The truth be told is our spiritual life is the most important part of our life.
Right, it is.
When we go back to the Bible and we look at Genesis, we see that God breathed into man, and man
Right.
became a living soul. And so we are a spiritual being that's kept in a physical body.
Absolutely.
And the problem is that a lot of times we think that just being in a marriage is just automatically is going to make you spiritual.
No,
But we know a
that
lot of
doesn't
people that
happen.
are spiritual, or we know Christians that are not doing well because they're not fully managing that aspect of their life.
Yes, yes.
And so our spiritual life makes us better equipped to love and serve in marriage.
Yes,
Because if
that's right.
we are following God's purpose and God's plan, then it's impossible for us to say that we can do marriage without the one who created it.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the issue in a lot of relationships.
I totally
Yeah.
agree with you.
And would you say that when we got that part of our life right, then everything else starts to flow a lot better?
Hands down, yes. Yes.
And it doesn't
yes.
it doesn't mean that we don't have problems though.
It doesn't mean that. And that's where I think like a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
get it wrong,
Yeah.
because you see two people, they're always into each other, they love each other, they may be counselors, but it doesn't mean that they don't go through their issues.
Absolutely.
Because you have to remember that it's two human beings. We're
Flawed.
all flawed human beings
Yes.
coming into a perfect marriage.
Yes,
God
indeed.
created, the marriage. It's supposed to be godly centered, and we talked about spiritual growth, but at the same time we are of the flesh.
Yes.
And the flesh, Bible talks about the flesh being failing sometimes.
Yeah, and it has to be subject to the spirit. The next thing that we check regularly is personal growth.
Yes, yes.
And this part is where you and I had to do a whole lot of work.
A lot of introspect.
Man, I
Yes,
tell you.
yes.
Because I was 23 and you were 22 when we got married.
Yes.
Two young kids, barely wet behind the ears. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't understand how to check ourselves when it comes to personal growth, because we just automatically think that being married and in love is enough to make it work.
Right. Just
Boy.
get married and it will work itself out. No,
How
that's
did-
absolutely a lie.
We got exposed
Yeah, we got exposed.
because I was not ready for marriage.
Yeah, and I think a lot of couples can say the same thing,
Yeah.
You fall in love and, oh my God, the butterflies and everything, the wedding day, and you think that that's it. You just live happily ever after. And a lot of us get knocked upside the head a couple of years after that, when you realize, man, I thought that just getting married and just being in love would, take this marriage to another level. But marriage it's about so much more than that.
Absolutely. I believe that people automatically think that being in love just automatically make their marriage work.
Yeah.
And the truth be told, that love alone don't make a marriage
doesn't.
work. It doesn't.
doesn't.
And you need wisdom, you need knowledge, you need understanding. And it's
yes.
one of the reasons why in our marriage makeover coaching program, we teach the grace principle.
Amen.
And the final letter in grace is E, which means that you have to educate and equip
Yes,
yourself.
Yes.
But we also talk about personal growth, because our marriage didn't get better until we got better.
That's right.
And we still learning it and we still evolving. The arguments at first in the early stage of our marriage, and I begin to realize that, I had a self-image problem, not knowing who I am as a man, and, growing up being bullied as a child, and
Right.
they talk negative about you. And those are seeds that were planted in our heart and in our soul. And it helps to, it's kind of what we are accustomed to reflecting back on, or we going back to that memory, that rhythm of life. What do you say about that?
Yeah, that's you are right. And I mean, it's not you, just you, I should say, that went through that phase of life. I also encountered
Yeah.
that aspect of life where you feel like you don't have, enough self-confidence.
Yes.
You don't feel like you're smart, you don't feel like you're beautiful, you don't feel like you're handsome, whichever way you take it. And it takes years to actually overcome stuff like that.
Wow,
Because I
years.
remember when I went through a lot of things in my earlier years, and then I got married. And, it's not good to bring certain things over into the marriage. It's like what you knew. So you come as you are, and then later on you realize that, okay, this is not working because I got to change this.
Absolutely.
This is what I learned. This is what I grew up hearing, but I got to change the narrative.
Babe, it's so funny that you're saying that, because I remember when we were struggling the third year in our marriage, and I went to God and I was praying and asking God to change you. We talk about that all the time.
I know, because we always focus on the other person,
Yes.
and sometimes it's us.
It
that
is.
needs to be
It is.
changed.
It's us that needs to be changed. And when I went to God and prayed and asked God to change my marriage, and I thought that if you get it right, then our marriage will be right. And that's the normal thing that our sin nature wants to do, to
Right,
deflect rather than take full ownership and responsibility
Yeah.
for how we show up in the marriage. But that's when God revealed to me that we don't have a marriage problem. We're just two individuals that love each other but comes to the marriage with problems.
Yeah.
I didn't have a husband problem. I had a man problem. And when I became a better man, that's when I was better equipped to love you and to serve you
Yes.
in marriage.
Yes, that's
And
it.
so people come to the marriage with a little bit of crazy.
Sometimes a lot. Sometimes a whole lot. Like you said, sometimes the baggage could be a small purse, a big handbag, or a suitcase.
Yes.
It could even be a barrel too.
It could
Who
be
knows?
a U-Haul truck.
It all depends on
Full of
the
stuff.
person and what they encountered, growing up.
Yes. And then what happened is that we unpack those things
Have
in
to
marriage.
unpack. Yes,
And
have
that's
to
where the
unpack.
problem comes in. And so when we decided to grow, man, I tell you, now it's so beautiful. Because I don't expect you to fulfill me. And you don't expect me to fulfill you.
Amen.
We are fulfilled by God, our
Yes.
visions, our goals, our dreams, our aspiration. I'm not expecting you to make me happy. I bring my happiness to the marriage.
Amen.
Oh my God, it's amazing
But
what you
being-
learn when you
being-
start to.
And being young in the marriage,
Mhm.
you see, that's growth and maturity. And when we talk about spiritual growth,
Yes.
because we have grown spiritually,
Yes.
we have grown personally, individually.
Yes.
And so that's why we mesh the way
Mm.
we do. But when you're earlier in the marriage, or anyone that's young in marriage, 1, 2, 3 years, you're not thinking of what you just said.
So can I ask
It
you this,
takes a
honey?
lot of building and growing to get to that point.
So it's safe to say then that most people don't wait long enough. Couples often quit too soon
Exactly.
because the third year in our marriage, we thought that we were not right for each other anymore.
That's true.
What if we had listened to the lies of the devil?
I think
Oh
about
my
that.
God!
I think about that very
man,
often.
what if we had listened to the lies of the devil? We wouldn't be here right now.
Sometimes our blessing is right outside the door.
Mm.
Right outside the door. We refuse to open that door.
Yes, indeed. And I also believe that, social media and society and Disney World, romance novels, and Hollywood have painted a negative image of what real marriage and real love looks like.
Yes, true. That's true.
So personal growth is key.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, if you don't grow, your marriage will never grow.
It will never grow.
And if you don't get better, your marriage will never get better.
Never get better.
Because our marriage is a reflection of the two of us.
It is.
And the
yes.
marriage that we have is based on the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And marriage is not the problem.
Remember, one person didn't get married. Two people got married to each other. So
I love it.
If,
love
one person has to be the bigger person,
Yes.
step up to the plate, and then the other person will no doubt step up.
Well said, honey. Okay, moving on to the third point, our visions and goals.
Visions and goals.
This is something that we plan every year for the last 22 years. The first of the year or
The last of the
last
year.
week of the year, we sit down and we check the pulse of our visions, our goals, the things that we want to accomplish. I mean, do you think that it helped us to stay focused on the main things, what's important to us?
Initially, I was a little skeptical about it because I didn't understand the whole process of why you started doing it.
Yeah.
And then we were young in marriage too. But as I grew, I got to understand that one has to set goals for themselves.
That's right.
You have to have visions. You have to have dreams.
Mm-hmm.
We were not just put on this earth just to be put on the earth.
That's right.
We were not put on this earth just to sit in a chair or in a couch or just lay in bed. We were put on this earth to work. And in order to work, you have to know where you're going. So in order to go where you're going, that's where the dreams and the vision comes in.
Yes, and the Bible tells us that without a vision, the people perish. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 2, it reminds us to write the vision and make it plain.
Right.
And so vision is like a roadmap. It's a template to where we need to go. And so our vision, we have a vision for our marriage, a vision statement.
Yes.
And our kids also have become indoctrinated in this because they have seen us do it for so long. Our younger son is now 22, and he was.
Well, he's not 22 quite yet, but he's getting there.
It's going to be
22 in October.
He's going to be 22 in October. Yeah. But since he was 6 months old, we've been doing this. And so he has now, and they get ready for at the end of the year. Sometimes they ask us, Dad, are you guys going to do the visions and goals for us, with us? And this is just absolutely amazing. And we started to take pictures in 2016, but it has been a staple. It has been a big part of our marriage. And it is said that if you don't know where you're going, how are you going to get there?
How are you going to get there?
And so I'm glad that as a leader, as the husband and father of my children, that I set the precedent in leading this aspect of our of our marriage. And it's not just me, it's both of us, because I couldn't do it without you. And so you come alongside me and we work as a team, as a partner. And boy, I can tell you, you are a great partner in this endeavor.
So
I couldn't ask for a better spouse.
And you know what? I gotta say, it's exciting from the perspective of the kids being excited about having the end of year goal setting meeting. I've seen them grow. And,
unbelievable.
Just the different things that they're interested in, the different things that they're doing, and walking into their room and seeing their vision board
state, their vision board. Now they have it in their room.
Some of the stuff actually cracks me up, but the fact that they actually do it, it just makes me proud.
Absolutely.
To know that we're doing something good,
no doubt about it,
and that they're following in our footsteps.
Yes, right.
So the fourth is finances.
Oh, yes.
Wow. Finances. What do you have to say about that?
Well, finance is a big problem. As a matter of fact, it's the second cause for divorce. Most people have more arguments about money than they do any other thing in marriages. And unfortunately, I think this is such a big part of what makes a marriage work, that you have to be on the same page when it comes to finances. Now, you and I have been married for 31 years. We have never bounced a check. We have never spent more than our net income. We have never borrowed money from anyone to do anything outside of financial institution like mortgage and insurance policies and all of that stuff. And we don't have arguments over money.
Nope, we don't.
And guys, we're not sitting here saying that we are multimillionaires. We're not that yet. We're still working on that. We still have careers. I still have my job. You still work as an executive for a law firm, and but here's the reality. We do know that there's a lot that goes in when it comes to finance.
There's a lot.
And I'm grateful that both of us are able to navigate this without having conflicts and arguments and that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about what we did and how we do it. Why this is not a problem. Because remember, when we started out, you were working in a supermarket. Now she's a graduate from college, but that's how we started. I was working in a bakery. Okay. So we going back. We showing you exactly how we got started and where we are now. Because everybody starts somewhere. Everybody has a story. Everyone marriage has a beginning, right? But let's talk a little bit about why this has not been a big issue in our marriage.
So like we said before, guys, that, we got married in our early 20s and, not knowing a lot about everything, but we put our heads together and, after our first child, he was about to be 4, we realized that we needed to move out of the apartment we were living in and get a bigger space. And then from there, we kind of like we always worked together.
Always.
Especially
From day
when
one.
Yeah, with everything. But on a financial aspect, we always put our heads together. And even though back then we weren't making a lot of money, we always made it work.
My God.
And I remember when we were looking for a 2-bedroom apartment. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
A friend of ours who's a real estate agent, he said to us, there's this place that, it's better than paying rent. It'll be your
own. 2-bedroom, yeah.
It was a co-op.
A co-op, yeah.
A 2-bedroom co-op. That worked out.
That's where we started.
That was amazing. That's where we started out, even though a couple of people were saying that, why don't you guys wait and buy a house?
Mm-hmm.
But then later on, after we did get the house, I said to my husband, but look at that. That co-op allowed us to pay
branch
down,
off,
to branch out and pay down on our house and then some.
Absolutely.
And I was like, God is so amazing, And so I think that in your marriage, you try to work it out together, not let everyone in your business, because people will try
be
to
a partner.
Deter you.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worked out. We got a few cues from the real estate agent as far as pooling our monies together, because we didn't really have a lot of bills.
Mm-hmm.
So we were like paying the phone bill and the rent, and that was like nothing, And
he asks a key question.
Yeah,
though.
he asks a question. He says,
"Who is better?
Who is better with money?"
Yeah.
At that point, I didn't know that I was better. Do you think I was better with money?
Well, I don't think it was better, because I think both of us have always been responsible and intentional about our finances. But I think you were better at organizing and actually paying the bills and stuff like that. Right. So he said, whoever is better at that, they're the one pay the bill. And since for almost 23 years, I have not really paid any bill in the house. You have done it all.
More than 23.
Yeah, it's more than that. Yeah. I actually, I know the bank statement. I check it every month. I know where the funds are coming from and know where it's going. But overall, you take care of everything, and it makes me appreciate that. And not only that, but it allows me to become more innovative and focusing on other things to build our legacy and so forth. And the next thing that I also want to say is that we live on a budget.
Yeah, we do.
We always live on a budget.
We've lived on a budget.
Always live on a budget. We don't try to buy things that we can't afford. There are times when we couldn't pay for vacation and we didn't go anywhere, and we don't borrow money to do none of that stuff. Means. We don't chase status.
Nope.
That's what broke people chase, status. We just know what works for us. Mm-hmm. All marriages are not created equal.
Yes.
And so because of that, we know what worked for our marriage and we make it work. And so it's just amazing that for 31 years we have never borrowed money to do anything.
Yeah, and
God is good.
I just want to say this, that we have earlier in the marriage, we didn't go on a lot of vacations.
Yeah.
We went locally.
Yeah.
And it's not like if we wanted to do it,
we couldn't do it.
We couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But when you know what you know your goals and your dreams. And that's why it's so important to have vision, goals, and dreams.
Absolutely.
We had goals set to do certain things. And if we were splurging or over splurging, those goals would not come to fruition.
Yes.
And so we put our heads together and we're like, okay, so this is that. Let's just forget about vacation this year. And it's always...
we've done that.
It was never an argument.
Never.
We just decided
not to go. Oh, what about in 2017 when I think you walk away from your job, right? It was in 2017.
No, I was laid off.
You was laid off.
Yeah,
you was laid. Okay, you was laid off that job, and you were
almost
a year. You was out of work.
Yeah,
and we didn't bounce a check. We didn't borrow money from anyone. And remember, at the time when you got laid off that job, the car that I was leasing, the lease was up, right? And I said that I am not getting in a car until
you get
a job.
Right.
When I could have done it.
Could have still did it.
We
but
could have still do
yeah.
it. You know, why?
And so you took my car because I wasn't driving.
Because you
and
wasn't
used
driving.
it until, oh my
Until
God.
you got another job, and then I was able to finance a car. See, that's what I'm saying. You have to be intentional and know what works. Now, we
Yeah.
didn't care about our
What
neighbors
anyone says.
thinking about, oh,
Yep.
well, they don't have any car anymore. They only have one car. It don't matter. You got to know who you are. You got to know what's worked for you. You got to know what
Yes,
worked for
yes.
your marriage, because we are a team and we have always been that way. And we never made any major financial decision without consulting each other.
Yes, that's right.
Never.
You
Never.
have to know.
You know-
Each person has to know.
I want to say this, babe. You know, when the Bible said that he that findeth a wife findeth a good thing and obtain favor from the Lord, I am so favorable because I found you. When I look back now at some of the challenges or some of the uncertainty that was ahead, and when I just sit down and talk to you about it, we find ways to fix it.
We always found ways. Thank God.
I don't know how men are married and they don't consult their wives or ask for her guidance. Because I believe that God has given you the innate ability as a woman to know exactly how to nurture things, how to take something like a vision or an idea, and you process that and you come back with a purpose that makes it work. And I can talk about so many things that I have consulted you with, and you're just amazing. You really are. You really are amazing. And so we also have life insurance policies on ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't
Don't want to
believe
leave burden on our
we
kids.
don't leave no burden on our kids or any family member. And we believe in having policies on our children, which we do.
Not just policies, but estate planning.
Yes,
it's
estate planning.
essential to
Yeah.
have estate planning,
Absolutely.
especially when you have younger kids.
Yes.
You know, you have an executor, and that executor that's named in your will
Yes.
has to know
To
what
do.
your plans
Yeah.
are going forward with your children, just in case of death.
Yeah.
It's very essential.
Y'all hear that?
Yeah, very essential.
It's very serious, guys, and we take it very seriously. And if this is adding value to you, please give it a like, please share, and thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us. And so number 5, sex and intimacy. That is something that we check regularly. Well, if I may say, sex have always been good.
Yes, it has.
We were not very good at it in the beginning of our marriage.
True, but it was getting done though.
It was getting we were banging, we were rocking, we were jiving, we were lighting up the bedroom, we were hopping from hotel to hotel and city to city. But eventually we begin to realize that great sexual intimacy is much more than just
Yes,
sex.
it is more than that.
What is it about, honey?
It's getting to know your spouse, you know, what their likes are, what they don't like so much.
Okay.
You know, be more personal and upfront. It's about communication, you know, because you have to communicate how you want to be handled in the bedroom.
Ooh, I love that.
Communication comes
Absolutely.
with intimacy. Everything in marriage is centered around communication.
It's a solvent of all marital problems.
And I've realized that in marriage, a lot of spouses do not know how to communicate their sexual needs and desires.
But we didn't at first. That's why, you see, and the reason why we like to talk about where we were, our zero to now we become hero, because it will help somebody else to understand. Because you just automatically think that just because you're in love and you get married, that you automatically know exactly how to.
But you know what? I think that popped in my head, and you're right, because now that we're at the point where we're actually counseling other couples, that's where that was coming from.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So sex and intimacy is something that we check all the time.
We have to check.
And
we have to check.
we learn that great sex does not just happen.
No.
It is created.
It is created.
That's why it's called love making.
Right. You have to create what you want and desire.
And I often maintain that you are the canvas, and who am I?
You're the artist.
And I get to
paint the canvas. You get to paint the town red.
all kind of different colors.
All kind of different colors.
And then we also talk about that Well, I learned early not early, but I think there was a time in the marriage when I thought that I know more about what you desire sexually than you really want.
Right.
And I think that's because of the stigma of what society wants us to believe and also exposed to pornography, because he knew that was something that I had to get delivered from in the early stage of our marriage. But let me just say this, that I remember when you said to me that you know more about your body than I do.
Right. And it's a fact. Like,
let's unpack that a little bit for the audience.
Well, I think we were in a situation and I said, like, that doesn't feel
right,
good, or it doesn't feel right. And I'm like, let me tell you what you need to do. And you were like, okay. And I said, babe, I know my body better than you do.
And I took that like that was a pill that I swallowed. And
you swallowed it real quickly.
I swallowed it real quickly. And not only that, but it's engraved in my soul.
Yeah, because you talk about it all the time.
I talk about it all the time because it's at that moment that I begin to realize that if you don't know exactly how to express your sexuality to me, how do I get to perform what you desire?
Exactly.
And so if you tell me to slow down, guess what I do?
You gotta slow down, baby.
If you say, baby, go faster.
Yep. That's what it is.
That's it. If you say, hold it right there, baby. That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yep.
I'm going to hold it right there.
That's it.
Because we get to understand that it's not just about me. Sex is about the two of us.
Right.
And the Bible talks about that in 1 Corinthians chapter 7 also. And we also understand the different erogenous zone.
Yes.
And how important it is for a man to understand the anatomy and the physiology of his wife's body.
Yes.
And I study that. I've studied you, and I've been studying her for a very long time.
Hence, guys,
yes,
my coats.
Yes, practitioner of love. And it's interesting, though. And let's unpack it. Like, you and I now have been married for 31 years. We have been having sex since day one. But now we are not in the mood to rush anything.
Right.
We're not in the mood to... actually, I am not in the business of keeping up late at night anymore.
Well,
or all night. Not late at night, but all night.
Right,
you know what I mean? Sex is very important. We have to constantly keep working on it. And I'm grateful that we are able to be open and having the discussion. And the last thing I want to ask you, relating to sex, so our audience can really understand, especially for wives. Why is it that you initiate sex often for me, or just do it regularly in the marriage?
Well, that's easy because let me just say that I grew up really shy.
Oh, yes.
And so, getting married at a younger age and not knowing a lot and just learning and gleaming from each other and stuff. But I've come to realize at one point that it is also important for my husband to feel loved and feel desired and feel appreciated, and not just sit back and always wanting him to be the initiator. And so with a lot of growing and stuff like that, I've learned how to initiate sex with my husband, because I realized that, like, oh my God, when I do, oh my God, it fires him up.
That's right.
It makes him feel loved and appreciated, make him say, oh, I'm happy that, you see that initiation is not just from a man's perspective or a male perspective, but it's also okay for a woman to initiate, so that her husband knows that she's also into him and love and appreciate and desire him as well.
And I also told you that when you initiate love, you're saying, it is telling me that
I
you love
you,
me.
I want you, I desire
Sex drive is higher. It's more desirable. And so,
and
yes.
guys, ladies, you should try. You get whatever you want after that. Trust me.
I'm telling you. Initiate.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I also say that, there's one place that I never have a problem with you being a leader, and that is where?
In the bedroom. In the bedroom.
In the bedroom.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Number 6, conflicts and issues.
Conflicts and issues.
Well, you already know that
conflicts will happen.
It will
It's not a matter of
if.
if.
It's when.
It's when it will happen. How do you deal with it? How's your communication? How's your trust?
Yes.
How's your loyalty?
Come on.
You know, how is the desire flowing? Because you know, when it comes to conflict, it can be from a sexual standpoint. It
Yeah.
can be from a communication standpoint. It can be from any area of
Yeah.
your marriage, but you have to be equipped and be ready to deal with those conflicts, whether you're going to be doing it by yourselves, you know, hey, sit, let's talk. This is what's going on, and we have to resolve it in order to have and create the marriage that we're looking for. You know?
Absolutely. And we always say that conflict is also not really bad for marriage.
No, it's not always
It's
bad.
it's also a sign that growth
Needs to happen.
is necessary.
Yeah.
It's needed. And I believe that the level of maturity that one is demonstrating in the marriage will determine how easy it is for them to repair
Right.
while they're going through conflicts. Because we talk about there's harmony, there's disharmony, there is repair, and then there's harmony.
Yeah.
So harmony is when you and I are flowing, we in a rhythm, we checking the pulse, and things are nice. But then when there's disharmony is when there's a problem, and then we have to repair that conflict,
Repair it so
and
that you
then
can get
we
back
can
to the
get
harmony.
back to harmony again. And I think that's the cycle of every relationship.
It is, yes.
I think the problem is some people don't know exactly how to get back into the harmony, and because of that, they stay in that broken state for way too long, and it starts to fester. You know, resentment sets in, and all that stuff just create a bigger problem in the
And I
marriage.
think that a lot of people are really reserved when it comes to consulting about, you
Yeah.
know, areas
Okay.
that they're going through in their marriage. And so I think that we all should have a mentor. Whether you're a mentor or not, you should
Yeah.
have a mentor.
Absolutely.
Because we all can glean from someone
Oh,
else.
absolutely,
you know?
and that's where counseling and coaching
Yes,
and
yes.
and we are big on that. But we also believe that counselors and coach and therapists,
They also need
then
someone to lean
they're
on.
not the
Yeah.
answer. They are a guide. God is the total answer for
Yes.
deliverance
Yes.
and restoration and healing in a marriage. All right, so deal with the conflicts. Don't fight like you want to end the marriage. Always realize that at the end of the day, you want to be good friends and you want to continue with the relationship. So we have learned to disagree and disagree well.
Yes.
Most people won't believe when we tell them that we do have disagreement, but our kids have never hear us disrespecting each other in any
Or
never
fighting.
or fighting. They're never heard, never seen, never. But
And
that's
it's funny. It's
but
funny.
it happens though. But
Yeah.
they never really,
Well, the fighting doesn't happen.
that the fight. No, I'm saying arguments and disagreement.
Yeah.
They have seen us have disagreement, but they have never. We don't fight. We don't say words that have to live to regret, and
Right.
you know.
And it's funny, remember our older son said to us years
Yeah.
ago, like, I never see you guys fight. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. You know, thank
Yeah.
thank be to the Lord. Okay, moving on to number 7, friendship. This is key to a successful marriage.
It is absolutely key.
If you cannot be friends, you can't have a successful marriage. And if you're not friends in the marriage, you need to become one immediately, because your marriage is not going to last without great friendship.
And I think that when you're courting or dating, you start to build that kind of friendship.
Yes, you do.
But guys, if it happens where you're married for whatever reason, whatever situation, and you weren't friends first, it's not the end of the world.
It's not.
That's where you start building friendship.
Yes.
Because friendship is very important, whether you're at year 1 or year 5 or
Come
year
on.
10 or year 50. Friendship is
It's always.
always important.
And I must say this, that it is not because of the fact that you and I have known each other since kindergarten. And we grew up together on the beautiful island of Jamaica. And you check our channel. We do have videos on that. I probably will put the link in this video, this episode, so you can check it out, about our love story. But the reality is that we had to grow and evolve as we grow and change.
Yes, absolutely.
And our friendship also get better with time. And it's also intentional.
Yes,
Because
it
there are
is.
situations that oftentimes the enemy try to put into our way that can create chaos in a
Right.
relationship. But
Right.
the core thing is that listen, we're transparent and friends talk about things. Any other point on friendship?
Yes, like friendship is great. I mean, it's something that needs to happen in the marriage.
Absolutely.
Hands down, no doubt. When it comes to marriage, I always say communication,
Yes,
trust,
we're big on that.
friendship.
Absolutely.
It's all a part of building a successful marriage, the marriage that you desire, the marriage that you want. You should be able to talk to your spouse or your partner about the desires of your heart, whatever heals you, whatever makes you happy,
Yeah.
whatever makes you sad.
Absolutely.
It's all a part of building friendship. And if you find yourself in that kind of marriage where you can't even talk to your spouse and you don't have that friendship, like I said before, it's not too late to start building, because friendship is essential in your
It
marriage.
is essential.
Yeah.
And if I may just say this, that when you see marriages that are failing, it is because of the lack of deep friendship.
Yeah, yeah.
It is so important to a successful marriage, and it's one of the areas that we check regularly because we are friends.
Yeah.
I love being friends with you,
We were friends first, though. Friends first.
but yeah, we were friends first, and we still are.
We still are friends, but I'm saying
Yeah.
we were friends first.
I get it, and I'm excited about then. I'm more excited about it now.
I see you glowing.
I'm always glowing when it comes to you. And number 8, health and
Number
wellness.
8. Yes.
We check the pulse for health and wellness. It's key. It's important. It's a part of what helps to make a marriage work. And the truth be told is these are things that people sometimes just take for granted, because health can impact the way you love and serve in your marriage.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think when you think about marriage and just all the different areas, communication, trust, and friendship, like we've been
Yeah.
talking about, it's kind of crazy, because you're thinking like you see a tree and the tree has several different branches. It's like marriage. You have so many different areas.
Layers and
And it's all interconnected, guys. It's all interconnected. Not do without the other in order for the marriage to be successful. So when it comes to health and wellness, a lot of people like shrug it off, thinking that it's not essential.
I'm
but
just
it
gonna do
is.
me. I'm gonna eat what I want.
Yes.
I'm gonna just, I'm not exercising. I'm not doing this. But the Bible also tells us that our body doesn't really belongs to us. It belongs to our spouse, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you own me. It is just basically saying that when you're married, the two become one,
Right, right.
and you are now intertwined together, glued together, fused together as one. So whatever you do impact me, and whatever I do impacts you, because one means one.
Right.
And so think about it. When someone is not healthy, right? Let's use people that have diabetes or high blood pressure or any type of chronic illness. It automatically put weight on the other spouse.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you know that it could have been prevented if that person was taking care of themselves. And so here it is that you have to miss time from work. And medical bills can wipe out your finances in a
my
heartbeat.
God, talk about it.
You don't even have to be sick for very long. And so we have seen where all of this can really impact the relationship negatively.
Yes.
And you and I have been always conscious about health and wellness. I'm 54 years old, and I've been working out since 1997. I have a gym membership, and I have not looked back. And, my wife don't like to go to the gym, so we got stuff at home for her. She have a treadmill, she have a rowing machine, she have a stationary bike, she have resistance band, she have dumbbells, all of that kind of stuff. And I like to work out with her, if you know what I mean. Did you hear what I just said? I like to work out with her, But it's so key for...
It is.
Yeah.
And I think one has to look at it from the perspective that, okay, say for me and you, I got to take care of me
Yes.
for me, but I also got to take care of me for you.
Ooh.
And vice versa. I think that's the way. If you look at it that way,
Wow.
it helps you kind of like sorted out in your head.
That's so dope.
I got to take care of me, for me first, not for you
It,
first.
it always
for
has
me
to be
first,
for you first, definitely.
because I got to take care of me. That's just how I see it. But
Yeah.
then I got to take care of me for you.
That's really hope.
You
That's,
talked about-
that's,
you
that's
talked
gold,
about-
man. That's gold nuggets. Y'all get that?
You talked about the burden. It's a lot of burden when one person is sick and then the other person has to take care of them. And if the person that is
my
sick
God.
doesn't change anything to make them better, then it's more burden on you. And that's why I say that.
Because we are responsible for each other and how we show up in the marriage.
Exactly.
And we must, and see, this is where selfishness really takes a big part
You
of.
said it.
Because people are just selfish.
You
And
said
our
it.
selfish nature just want what we want, when we want it, and doesn't care who we hurt
Right.
and what we do to get it. And at the end of the day, you are putting your life at risk, and you're putting the marriage rhythm and relationship at risk. And
Yeah.
this is where the pulse in that area now start to flatline. Because you cannot function at your highest level
Right.
of consciousness and capacity. You know, the Bible tells us that God wants us to prosper and be in good health, even as our soul prosper.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the things that I really love about you is that you get on me sometimes when I cheat. Especially, you know, I have a sweet tooth.
Yes, you do.
Way too sweet.
Ooh, child.
And my wife would just give me that look, and that's it, y'all. It's just over. Because we know how these things just really hurt us. And it's funny, before we came on to do this episode, we were talking about how our mind has been rewired, and we've been bamboozled by commercials and mainstream media and the food industry to think that sugar is healthy, and we crave sweet when it does nothing for our
Does
body.
nothing for your body.
You know, and so, you know, we you know, I want to challenge those of you that are going through, you're dealing with illness and whatever ailments or situation it is. Take better care of yourself. Go to the doctor, get your checkup, lose weight, diet, change your mindset,
There's
change your
only
attitude.
one you.
There's only one you.
Yes.
And the Bible tells us that, you know, the enemy come to
Kill,
he come to steal, he come to kill, and he come to destroy. He wants to steal your money, he wants to kill your body, and he wants to destroy your relationship.
My God.
And so, but Jesus said that I come that
I-
you may have life
Child.
and have life more abundantly. And in order for you to have the abundant life that God wants and have for you, you have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Because
Amen.
when we go for prayer or ask for prayer, our prayer falls under these three categories. You either praying and asking God to help you with your finances, you either praying for your health, or you're praying for your relationship.
Yeah.
Those are the only three areas that we ask for prayer: health, wealth, and relationship.
And I think another thing that I think about is when you talk about going for prayer, sometimes we would request prayer,
Yeah.
but we won't pray for ourselves.
Or
The first thing we have to do is to learn to
pray.
pray for ourselves.
that's good, babe.
You can't just wait for another person
you
to
can't.
pray for you.
But I also believe that it's not just that we pray, but we have to have faith. And
Yeah,
faith
comes
without
hand in
work is
hand.
dead. Most people want a successful marriage, but they don't go to work. Most people want to be better in their marriage, but they don't take up a book. They don't read a book. Rather, they don't get coaching, mentorship, counseling. They don't change.
Nothing is
Because
going to fall
change
into your lap
requires-
because you pray.
There you go.
You have to do the work.
You have to do the work.
have to do the
And
work.
work is a spiritual thing.
Yes, it is.
You know, labor is a different thing, but work is spiritual. God said we must work the work of him who sent us while it's day.
Yes.
Because the night
Night
cometh when no man can work.
work.
And I love working for you.
I love working with
I
you.
love working with you. And I love being a practitioner of love.
I love being a practitioner too.
And boy, do I love practicing on you.
And are you?
Yeah, I've been married for 31 years, and I've been practicing loving you for 31 years. I think I become a master
You're a
at it.
mastermind?
I am
practicing love?
I'm a master at practicing love. Doctor get to practice medicine. Lawyer get to practice law.
You're making me blush.
And I get to practice love. Mm. That's why God tells the husband to love his wife.
Yes.
Because love,
As Christ loved the
as
church.
Christ loved the church. And I get to love you that way through loving God.
Amen.
Well, my friend, we're gonna land this plane. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, guys.
And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And these are some of the key things that we check.
Yes.
There's other things that we check also, but these are the main things that we check regularly. And once we check these regularly, we can consistently keep having a rhythm. And we can check the heartbeat.
Ebb and flow.
We can check the heartbeat. Let me check her heartbeat. I want to hear your heart.
It's beating real fast right now.
Oh, let me see. Oh my God. It's racing. It's racing.
When you talk to me like that, that's what happened.
I think I know exactly how to solve this rapid heart rate. I know exactly how to slow it down.
Okay.
Anyway, guys, it was a pleasure. God bless you.
It was a pleasure, guys.
Thank you again.
God bless you.
This is Not Easily Broken, and I am Dorian.
And I'm Joan.
And on this show, on this episode, on this channel, we teach couples who are going through marital challenges and issues and dysfunctional, unhappy marriage. We teach you exactly how to build better, stronger marriage through spiritual growth, personal growth, aligned with the Word of God.
Amen.
We believe when you get those two areas right, everything is going to be right. Be blessed. Thank you again.
Be blessed, guys.
Can't wait to see you in the next one.